Wow, look at that. 2 Decembers in a row I've done videos on Fortnite and Sonic exclusively. Wow. Okay, but actually, so this video wasn't really planned, it was kind of a, okay, if the movie is downright incredible and worth talking about, then I'll yap about it for a few minutes. Guess what? The movie was downright incredible and worth talking about. Sonic 3 is a movie that I think surpassed the expectations of even those who had the highest expectations. Everything about this movie is unironically perfect, which feels weird to say for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but so be it. This is genuinely everything anyone could have ever asked for from an SA2 adaptation. It's obviously not a direct adaptation, there's a lot of differences, obviously the main ones being characters like Amy and Rouge are gone, and Gerald is alive. That's stuff that was in the trailers, so it's fine to say, but before I go deeper, it's in the title, but I'll also say it here. This will be a spoiler review. I'm going to spoil this movie from top to bottom, front to back. I could not make this video without spoiling it. There's just too much to digest here, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, please go watch it before you see it. Even if you say you don't care about spoilers, I promise you seeing this movie blind is the best thing ever. Also, if you couldn't tell, this video is going to be very minimally edited because it's almost Christmas and I don't want to spend hours of my time editing. Back on topic with what I was saying though, there's obviously a lot of changes from the original story of SA2, and at this point, I hope everyone has come to expect that considering the first 2 Sonic movies. These are not direct adaptations of the games, they share a lot of similar plot points, but they are set on doing their own thing, which in my opinion is a good thing. While I do one day want to see an entirely accurate adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 on the big screen, I think these movies taking their own paths and doing more creative stuff with them helps them to stand out more than if they were direct adaptations of the game. This, to me, is shown in 2 ways, through Gerald being alive and through Amy's lacking presence. And yes, before you say it, don't worry, I'll talk about that scene later. I want to focus on the core movie for now. Gerald's character is something I was very worried about going into this movie. While Gerald is far from the most present character in the series, his personality and goals have been pretty well established. Gerald and Ivo are insane in 2 different ways. Ivo is a far more zany, cartoony villain, but he is shown to have a human side at times. Whether this be through Sage in Sonic Frontiers, or through his reflection on Gerald and what Grandfather meant to him at the end of SA2. Meanwhile, Gerald is someone who has lost everything. He's not zany or cartoony almost at all. He's dead set on revenge and taking out a gun to avenge everything and everyone he's lost. He's far from a, I guess you could say, real person than Eggman is. Which is why when this movie's marketing established Gerald as basically a second Eggman, I was kinda worried. However, thankfully, honestly, Gerald is actually pretty well handled. They do this thing where they make it obvious that this zaniness of his is far more of an act to get closer to Ivo and make him spoil his true intentions. I don't think Gerald is a perfect adaptation, and I definitely would have preferred he stayed dead, as I think it made him a lot more intimidating and mysterious, but I still really like movie Gerald. On the topic of Ivo and Gerald's relationship though, I thought the whole thing was really well executed. One issue I've had with movie Eggman is that I think he's a little too silly. It's very hard to explain, but the best way to put it is I can never see Jim Carrey's Eggman having such interpersonal monologue scenes like he did with, again, Sage, or some of his Egg memos, or once again, Gerald. It's so difficult for me to get across my feelings on Jim's Eggman, but keep in mind I'm not saying he's a bad adaptation. Far from it, just I feel strange on him. The reason why I'm mentioning all this though is because this is the movie where they had to take this Eggman in a deeper direction, and it surprisingly wasn't that bad. Again, I don't think it's perfect, but the scenes did work, and it felt like I finally got to see more of a slightly human side of Eggman. Like we've already seen a few times with the main one. Especially with the scene where Ivo actually ends up confronting Gerald and you get such lines as, "You were never any Maria." Or something like that, I have shitty memory. I also thought, as always, Stone and Ivo's relationship was like highlight of this movie. Agent Jones, I want to kill my Agent Stone is no joke the best addition the movies could have made. Like, I know everyone loves Tom, Maddie, Wade, etc., but Stone feels like a character that could genuinely have a place in the games. On top of that, Lee Majdoub is such a genuinely good guy. I haven't met him, but I've seen a lot of people who have, and they've only had good things to say about him. Alongside him just being really interactive with the community overall. Eggman's final scene where he says goodbye to Stone is genuinely really sweet and a nice conclusion to his character in that whole side plot. I hope Stone does come back for movie 4, regardless of if Eggman lived or not, which he probably didn't considering Gerald died despite the fact he was consumed by a much smaller amount of energy compared to whatever the fuck Ivo had to deal with, but I do hope Stone returns. He's just genuinely such a fun character. Finally, moving on from all the Robotnik stuff, earlier I mentioned the lack of Amy in this film. In Sonic Adventure 2, Amy doesn't have much of a role, but she still does have a role. The role she gets is kind of big. If you don't know what I'm talking about, she's the entire reason Shadow remembers Maria's true wish, convincing Shadow that even if not everyone is a good person, they always have a chance to be happy and live peacefully. They can always change and reform, which causes Shadow to realize that no, Maria did not want him to commit mass genocide. She wanted the opposite of that. So, obviously, Amy Rose is not in the movie. Again, shut up about that scene, I'm getting to it, I promise. But since she's not there, that causes a problem. Who should be the one to fulfill her role of giving Shadow a change of heart? Well, who better than Sonic the Hedgehog himself, after overcoming his own lust for revenge? By paralleling Sonic's story with Shadow's, you get not only excellent development for Sonic as a character, but you also get the perfect replacement for Amy. The scene where Shadow and Sonic are on the moon is no exaggeration perfect, with some overall stunning shots, my favorites being the one where they're sitting with their backs turned towards each other, and the one where they look over the Earth. But you know what it's followed up by? The greatest scene anyone could ever make. I just don't get it, man. How did they do it? They fucking did it. They made perfection. Super Sonic and Super Shadow is like, it's so raw. I don't know how they pulled it off, but I love them. I rewatched this scene via camera rips like 20 times already. I just can't stop going back to it. The fucking little man in the background. They just made this entire third act of Dragon Ball movie. Like, dude, I haven't even spoken about the fight. What the actual fuck were they on? I can't. What the actual fuck, man? I get why Jim Carrey took this role. This script was given to Paramount from God himself, written in golden ink. I mean, holy shit, man. I need this movie in digital. I need to watch it in HD on the biggest screen possible, every day, every night, for the rest of my goddamn life. Because that final act is the greatest thing I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing. Sonic and Shadow's banter, the fucking fight choreography. I do wish the team-up fight wasn't interrupted by Eggman and Gerald, but I don't care, it's so cool anymore. Shadow in this film is just dead-ass the definition of cool. In his first scene, he doesn't utter a single word. They just show you how cool he is by making you watch him beat the shit out of all of these gun members. And the Maria scenes are, as well, just so emotional. I will say my only issues with this whole thing is that I wish Maria kept her illness and that they were on the Ark instead of staying on Earth. Because I feel like the thing with Maria not being ill is that it removes an important emotional part of Gerald's story. Everything he was doing was to save Maria, with her now being just a perfectly normal girl. That more sympathetic and personal part of Gerald's character is basically erased, but I get why they did it. This movie is pretty goddamn stacked, so I guess they wanted to simplify Shadow and Gerald's backstory to make it fit. That's one general issue I have with this movie, by the way. Pacing, for the most part, it's fine. However, the beginning is a bit too fast. I felt like they needed to give them more time before meeting Shadow. At least another 5 to 10 minutes of Sonic and his family just dicking around would have sufficed. This movie is better paced than movie 2 in my opinion. I much prefer the beginning going a little fast too, and I'm sorry, I know I'm really beating a dead horse, but I'm gonna mention it anyways. The Weddings of Blight in movie 2, which, while funny, should not have been in a Sonic movie, and the conclusion would have worked better as an extended scene released after the movie dropped. That's another positive with this movie. It is all plot. Tom and Maddie are actually barely in the film. Wade is barely in the film, even. Tom and Maddie do get bigger roles eventually for one part of the movie, but Wade is there for like 5 seconds. Really, the only movie-exclusive human character with screen time equivalent to the game characters is Agent Stone, who I've already discussed. Rachel and Randall are technically in the film. Like, their actors are there playing the characters, in quotes, but it's actually just Tom and Maddie in disguise, so I'm not even sure if that's fair to count. Last bit before I discuss that credit scene. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are probably the best they've ever been in this movie. Their dynamic is not only on point, but Sonic is damn near close to Game Sonic in my opinion. And that scene where he's threatening to fight Knuckles for the location of the Master Emerald was fucking awesome. Tails also actually got stuff to do. Movie 2 Tails was fine. I didn't have issues with him in movie 2 necessarily, but this time he's genuinely up there for MVP status. They improved him so much. Okay, it's time. And let's talk about, okay. First, I just have to say, Reddit is such a downgrade from Stars in the Sky. It's really insane. Like, Stars in the Sky doesn't speak about Sonic in the song itself at all, but at least the song is a vibe. Speed Me Up is a solid song, and that not only mentions Tails directly, but also mentions stuff like ranks and levels or whatever. Run It is just not very good. It's okay at best. Okay, actually now let's talk about post-credit scene. How did they do it? How did they not only reveal Metal Sonic, but Amy too? They revealed Amy too. Bro, I've been clamoring for Amy for too long. Like, genuinely, I think I would have hurt someone if Silver, of all characters, got in before Amy, because Amy really should have been here a while ago. I'm honestly shocked it took her this long to get in, because while I get Shadow is absurdly popular and all, Amy is part of the main cast, but hey man, I'm happy she's here. And Metal Sonic is here too now, kind of. He gets destroyed in the post-credit scene, so it's unclear if he'll actually come back or not, but there is an entire army of Metal Sonic, so I wouldn't be surprised if the main one is revived by his army in movie 4. Also, my favorite thing about Metal is that he's straight up just ripped from the game. Like, every other design has been kind of movieified. Even the most accurate design, which to me is definitely Tails, has slight differences in things like the proportions or size. Metal Sonic is just straight up from the game. Like, he's straight up just the Metal Sonic from the games. There is no difference between them, and I love it. We've come an absurdly long way since this putrid design. But regardless, that's all I'm going to say about this movie. Point is, I fucking love it. And it's my favorite film that released in 2024 by far. Definitely my favorite film that I've watched for the first time this year. That undoubtedly goes to A Silent Voice. Genuinely incredibly film. Please watch it. But back on topic, I'll end this off by saying that it really does make me happy to see how far these movies have come. From barely adapted in games in what was essentially a buddy cop movie which happened to feature Sonic and Eggman, to a film that makes Sonic 2, the film being praised as
Bro, that shit was a Sonic movie through and through, you don't get it!
look weak in comparison. This was everything I could have asked for from these films and more, and I've never been more excited for a Sonic product titled Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Probably because there was no official Sonic product titled Sonic the Hedgehog 4 until now. And if anyone says there was, they're lying to you. This is my last video this year, actually this time, so thanks for everything for this year, and I'll see you all in 2025, hopefully. By the way, please don't strike my channel for the Girls About to Try video while I'm gone. Thanks. Okay, see you, goodbye now. Goodbye.